You're watching WNDU TV. News Center 16 at 6 starts now.
We start with breaking news just into our newsroom. 2 people have been hurt in a reported stabbing in South Bend. It happened around 5 p.m. near Ivy Court and Twickenham Drive, but the call was reported as a stabbing, but it's not clear how the 2 people were actually hurt. Stay with News Center 16 as we find out more information on this breaking story. And it's almost time for the moment these fans have all been waiting for. Kickoff for Notre Dame's home opener against rival Michigan. And we've got coverage over the next hour and a half here on News Center 16 to get you hyped up for the big game. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Travis Robinson. We start tonight with team coverage for the very first Notre Dame game of the season. Chuck Freeby and Alex Wilcox are at the stadium. Megan Smedley is on campus. But before we get to them, Courtney Jorgensen joins us from the Weather Lab to tell us what fans could be expecting tonight. Courtney?
Hey Travis, if you are outside enjoying some of the last festivities before the game gets started, it's looking pretty nice outside right now. In fact, it is also very hot and humid, but at least there is no rain. We're keeping it dry outside right now. On the sky view cam, you can see it's looking pretty nice out there. You might even need your sunglasses. It's kind of a partly to mostly cloudy evening, but for the most part, the rain showers are not going to affect us through the game time hours. Now, we did have some rain earlier today. It was in Berrien County, and then we just saw some isolated showers. I felt 1 raindrop earlier this afternoon, but that was it. There's a slight chance we could maybe see an isolated shower, but it looks like for the most part, what is starting to pop up is further towards the northeast now. So I think for game time, we're going to be good. That's awesome. It's hot though. 84 degrees right now in South Bend, 85 in Elkhart, 84 further towards the south. Rochester, 88 degrees right now. But your hour-by-hour forecast is you're going to be out this evening. Looks to be a mostly cloudy evening. Those temperatures eventually dropping through the mid-70s. I'm going to take a look at the rest of your forecast. There is more chances for showers and storms coming up in a bit.
All right, thanks, Courtney. We're just an hour and a half away from kickoff between Notre Dame and Michigan. A top 15 showdown under the lights at Notre Dame Stadium. So let's send things out to the stadium right now where our countdown to kickoff crew is all set up and ready to go. Alex Wilcox and Chuck Freeby join us live from the sidelines. And guys, Irish fans are just hoping Brandon Wimbush is ready to go.
Well, that's certainly the big question, Travis. We've heard all off-season how much Brandon Wimbush has grown, but now, Alex, it's time to show it.
Yeah, exactly. And if he doesn't, we know that backup quarterback Ian Book is right there behind him, ready to step in and make his name known. Those two are the subject of my one-on-one sit-down with head coach Brian Kelly.
Now, you mentioned how you have 2 quarterbacks this year that you're confident in with Brandon Wimbush and Ian Book. Of course, the last time we saw you guys play a football game, you replaced Wimbush in favor of Book. Just, what have you seen from Wimbush throughout these past 8 months or so that makes you feel that he's ready, he's got what it takes to lead this team?
Well, he's a dynamic athlete. I don't know that I've coached a guy that has that kind of big playability. We know he throws the ball down the field well. He's working on his efficiency with some of the shorter throws, but he's made great strides there. But he can make big plays either throwing it or running it. He's very difficult to defend, especially when we come into our opponent with Michigan. He's a guy that is very difficult to defend. Ian Book is efficient. He's a guy that puts the ball on you, can throw it very well, and can run as well. So it's just that we've got 2 really good quarterbacks, and Brandon has the ability to really break open a game.
Of course, the old adage is if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. With Ian Book, you've proven that you can win with him. The offense is confident in him. He's a very talented kid. How do you then keep him locked in and keep him hungry when he knows he can play, he knows he can win, but at the same time, he's still on the sidelines?
Well, it's the ultimate team game. If it was tennis, I could see how he'd be upset, or golf. But it's a team game, and he knows as a quarterback that you can only play one of them. But he'll be ready, and if we call on him, we have great confidence in his ability. So his mindset is such that he comes to work every day knowing that I better be ready to step in for Notre Dame and help us win. And that's what makes this game the greatest game, because it's not just about you. It's about your team and what you need to do to help your team win. And Ian brings that to our football club.
It's an interesting time in college football. Yeah. Alabama is dead set. They're playing 2 quarterbacks tonight, and they're going to regulate how much each one plays. I have the feeling we might see Ian Book tonight, at least for a couple of snaps. But I think if Brian Kelly had his druthers, Brandon Wimbush would get a complete game tonight.
Yeah, definitely. He would certainly like Wimbush to play the whole game. I agree with you, though. I think we will see Ian Book at some point tonight. You know, with Wimbush going up against that vaunted Michigan defense, he can break a play open with his legs. But at some point tonight, a throw is going to have to be made to possibly win this game. Ian Book is more reliable throwing the football. At some point tonight, I think you're going to see him on the field.
Well, what a game to open with to test your quarterbacks. You want to see if Brandon Wimbush is mentally ready? You're going to find out tonight.
Yeah, you sure will. It's the return of one of the most heated rivalries in college football. This game has been circled on our calendars since it was announced 2 years ago. But it's not just us and all of you watching at home that are excited. The guys who will decide the outcome, the players, are pumped as well.
Just honored, man. Honored to be a part of that, to be a part of that that long line tradition of that game and what that game means to our university and what that game means to college football in general. So just very excited to be a part of that.
Watching this game growing up, and you know when they played each other every year, it was a big deal, and I'm excited to be on this stage and playing against them. You know, week 1, college game day doesn't get any better than that, so we're excited to get to South Bend and take care of business.
It's a dream come true. You know, you come to schools like this to play in big games like this, and you know to be presented this stage. You know, you can't ask anything better than this.
It's going to be like any primetime game. It's going to be, you know, fans that are excited to be there in the stadium and outside the stadium. It's going to be family. It's going to be friends. It's going to be, you know, lights, cameras, everything kind of you dream about as a kid. That'll be there on Saturday.
Indeed, it is the marquee matchup of the opening weekend of college football season, and it's happening right here at Notre Dame Stadium.
That's right. Countdown to kickoff will get you started. That's coming up at 6:30. And then it's game time. You can watch all the action here on WNDU, and we'll be back after the game with post-game highlights and analysis. Travis.
All right, thanks so much, guys. We'll hear a little bit more about the game in a bit, but right now, let's talk about the fans. The gates just opened at Notre Dame Stadium, but the party is still going strong in the parking lots. Now, News Center 16's Megan Smedley is outside the stadium with how fans are gearing up for the big game. Megan?
Yeah, Travis, it's 90 minutes until kickoff, but I gotta tell you, something in the air out here, all of the excitement makes it feel like it's Christmas morning out here. Break out the barbecue and the burgers. It's tailgating season here at Notre Dame. Fans have been gearing up for tonight's primetime matchup since before the sun rose. But the early bird gets the worm, right? Or rather, the best tailgating spot. It's been a sea of green out in the parking lots with just a sprinkle of the maize and blue. Fans say this is the best tailgate they've ever been to, while others, well, they wish they were getting more free food out of it.
The tailgating scene is huge. It's bigger than I've ever been to. There are people everywhere, and everywhere you go, there's people there.
When they win.
A Notre Dame victory.
Yeah, when they win.
People sharing food, right? But they giving you small portions, you feel me? I'm a grown man, I need to eat like everybody else, you feel me? A couple fries and half a hot dog not gonna cut it. I need my full portion.
And Travis, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty impressed with all these fans out here. I met a family that came all the way up from Atlanta this morning just to come to the game. All that barbecue smelled so good, I'm gonna try to steal some of that before I head into the game. Back to you in the studio, Travis.
Yeah, Megan, definitely try to get us some of that barbecue because I haven't had dinner yet, so that would just be amazing if you could bring some back for me.
Okay, got it.
All right, thanks, Megan. And if campus is electric, it's safe to say the parking lots outside Notre Dame Stadium served as the power source. Dozens of people set up shop for their tailgate parties as early as 4 a.m. That's more than 12 hours before kickoff. Our reporters out there say there weren't any complaints about the early start, but there were definitely many hoping for a great game and a great season.
I went to my first game when I was 5 or 6, and I haven't missed one since.
Big game, exciting season. They look good. I hope we can bring it home.
What are you most excited about for today's game? A win. I mean, that's what we're hoping for, and we're gonna be out here. It's gonna be game day. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a blast.
And speaking of college game day, the ESPN crews were live from campus all morning long. The program returned to where it all started back in 1993. That's the year I was born. Fans turned out in droves to witness the spectacle, and the pregame show featured Luke Bryan and, of course, Coach Lee Corso, who went all out for his first mascot pick of the season. Let's take a listen to the crowd when he chose the home team. You can see the party there continues as the coach joins the Notre Dame Leprechaun with a little Irish jig. Speaking of famous faces, Super Bowl champion Justin Tuck is back on campus for the big game himself. Former Irish defensive end is teaming with author Marie Unanaway for the Let's All Be Kind campaign. Their goal is to teach kids about good character and why they shouldn't put other people down. Justin and his wife have a literacy campaign, while Marie wrote a children's book about treating people with respect.
It's something that I think is very needed in today's landscape, especially when you talk about the negativity and the bullying that you see on social media websites. So the opportunity to put out something positive is something that obviously me and my wife have been trying our best to be champions for our entire life.
Now, Marie's book is called The Adventures of Fatty in Payaso Central Park. To learn more about it, head over to our website or mobile app and look for this story. Now, coming up, police have made an arrest in connection with a deadly hit and run in South Bend. Plus, a memorial service is held in D.C. to honor the late Senator John McCain. Hear from his daughter's powerful tribute next at 6. We're back with a breaking news update on a story that we first brought to you Friday night. A man's been arrested in connection with a deadly hit-and-run collision involving a car and a pedestrian in South Bend. Police say 26-year-old Dylan McDaniel was arrested on preliminary suspicion of leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. The crash happened around 8:15 Friday night in the 2000 block of South Michigan Street. Police confirmed the 54-year-old male victim was dead just before 9. Police say the man will not be identified until his family's been notified, and the charge against McDaniel, which is a level 5 felony, hasn't been filed, but police say a decision on formal charges is expected to be made on Sunday. New at 6, 4 people are dead and 3 people are hurt after a crash involving a wrong-way driver on the Indiana toll road. It happened just after 1:40 this morning at the 13.1 mile marker in Gary when a Toyota SUV traveling westbound in the eastbound lanes of traffic crashed head-on with a Jeep. Police say the driver of the Toyota died at the scene along with his wife and 14-year-old son. The driver's 3 daughters survived the crash, but they all suffered some serious injuries. Police say the driver of the Jeep also died. They say alcohol may be a factor in the crash. Hundreds of family, friends, and colleagues gathered at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. this morning to honor the late Senator John McCain. Former Presidents Obama and Bush, once rivals of the late senator, joined his daughter Meghan to deliver powerful eulogies. They praised Senator McCain's dignity and public spirit, and at times took a few unveiled swipes at the current administration without mentioning anyone by name. In Meghan McCain's emotional tribute, she encouraged others to live up to her father's greatness and define the America of John McCain as one that's generous, welcoming, and bold.
America does not boast because she has no need to. The America of John McCain has no need to be made great again because America was always great.
On Sunday, there will be a private burial service in Annapolis, Maryland at the U.S. Naval Academy. And just ahead, is it going to stay dry for the big game tonight? Courtney's going to let us know in her weather forecast coming up next. So we've got hundreds of thousands of people out there today, some
Right.
since 4 in the morning, so they probably didn't know to pack any rain gear or anything if it's going to rain.
Well, hopefully they did, because I told them to yesterday, just in case. But yesterday I was talking about, even though our models were showing that we were looking at the potential for some rain, that there was still only a 20 to 30% chance that would actually happen. And as you can see today, it, aside from north of the state line, it hasn't rained.
Yeah, they're in
at
luck
least
so
not
far.
at the stadium. So
Yeah.
that was what I was hoping for, and we've got that so far. Outside right now, though, well, there's the satellite radar combo for you. We actually had over half an inch of rain in Berrien County today. That happened earlier around noon or so, but for the most part, we're dry right now. I'll zoom in here a bit closer for you on 16 Doppler max. You can see some isolated showers and thunderstorms are trying to pop up. So there is that isolated chance, but it looks like, at least for this component, mainly to be further towards the east. We're dry right now in South Bend, and I expect us to be fairly dry as we head through the rest of the evening hours. There's a chance for more activity happening overnight tonight. So I'm going to show it to you here on Future Track. Again, dry right now. We do have some clouds, some breaks in the clouds. clouds, which might require you to bring some sunglasses out. Here's an 11 o'clock for you. So this is getting close to the time we're wrapping up the game, but it still looks like it's north of the state line and very isolated showers. And then there's not too much with it. The next component starts to work its way in. We're just kind of riding along this ridge. And as it does so, we could maybe see some isolated showers again at 5:30 in the morning. So early morning is a chance for some showers. And then as we head towards the afternoon on Sunday, not looking too bad. We'll see a partly cloudy to partly sunny day for us. Maybe an isolated shower or thunderstorm late in the afternoon into the early evening hours. And then as we head through the overnight hour, not too bad once again. Looking into Labor Day, many folks planning to get out and about. It looks like we could see some spotty showers in the morning. Same kind of thing, repeat. Middle of the day, not looking too bad, but some isolated showers popping up again for the afternoon. This looks like it'll mainly stay north of the state line as well, too. So overall, not looking too bad for the rest of Labor Day weekend. Skyview Cam downtown South Bend, we're at 84 degrees. Winds out of the south-southwest at 14 miles per hour. That feels good because those temperatures are awfully mild. Again, we're all in the mid-80s right now. It feels like 90 degrees right now in Elkhart, feels like 92 in Goshen, feels like 91 in Warsaw. So it does certainly feel pretty hot outside right now. And so hopefully you're staying hydrated, for especially those folks who have been out since 4 a.m. this morning. Overnight tonight, I expect temperatures to stay on the warmer side, 72 degrees. Otherwise, a mostly cloudy night. We have that slight chance for a shower storm, again, mainly north of the state line. We get to the rest of your 7-day planning forecast. Waking up tomorrow, that slight chance of showers in the morning, mainly a partly sunny to partly cloudy day, maybe an isolated shower or thunderstorm late in the afternoon. Temperature 86 degrees. We add in more heat and humidity as we get into Labor Day itself, so it is going to be pretty sticky out there. It was kind of sticky out today too. Warm start to the day once again, hot and humid. Then we have that chance for some scattered showers or storms popping up late in the afternoon. So overall, we have the chances, but it's not a complete washout. And if we get lucky like we did today, some spots may get a little bit of rain and the rest may actually stay dry all day long. 7-day planning forecast, still hot and humid. Actually going to feel like the mid to upper 90s Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. After that, looks like late in the day on Wednesday, we'll start to see a chance for some activity move in once again. That will actually help cool us back down. And take a look, by the time we get towards Friday and Saturday, we're back down into the mid 70s. So that'll feel pretty nice after a week of heat and humidity once again.
All right. Well, thanks so much for that update, Courtney. And just after this quick break, we're going to head over to the stadium with our friends over there to hear how sports are going. Stay tuned. We're getting closer and closer to kickoff between Notre Dame and Michigan. But before the game begins, countdown to kickoff will have everything you need to know to get ready. Let's go out once again to Alex Wilcox and Chuck Freeby live on the sidelines. Before we get to Notre Dame, though, there are a couple of other big sports stories today.
You're right, Travis. The game tonight, the big story, but not the only story. The Bears, boy, they made a huge splash today.
Yeah, they sure did. They traded for Raiders star Khalil Mack. They have an agreement in place to acquire the star pass rusher from the Oakland Raiders. Chicago will send 2 first-round picks to the Raiders in the deal, as well as 3rd and 6th round picks. And ESPN's Adam Schefter has just reported that the Bears have agreed to an extension with Khalil Mack on a 6-year, $141 million extension with $90 million guaranteed, making him the new highest paid defensive player in NFL history. The NFL's Defensive Player of the Year in 2016 has held out for the entire offseason and preseason team activities with the Raiders while seeking that new deal that he just got from the Chicago Bears.
So a good day for Chicago fans. Bears get Khalil Mack tonight. The Cubs get back Chris Bryant from the disabled list. The third baseman had been out for over a month with a shoulder injury. He is in the lineup tonight against the Phillies. But as we mentioned, the big story is here at Notre Dame Stadium, the renewal of the rivalry between Notre Dame and Michigan, and the crowd starting to fill in here in the stadium. The last time that Michigan was here, it was an embarrassment for the Maize and Blue. They were shut out 31-0.
Yeah, it sure was. I was actually a junior student manager for that game. I was up in the coach's box for that one. While it was an embarrassment for Michigan, I got to say, everyone in that coach's box was pretty happy. And I'll tell you one more thing. If you ask anyone in that box, the real score of that game, 37-0.
A lot of Irish fans feel that way, too. What will happen tonight, we'll find out in a matter of moments, and we'll talk about it in Countdown to Kickoff at 6:30, Travis.
All right, well, thank you so much, guys, for the update. And Courtney, just for some reassurance here, no rain jackets, no umbrellas tonight.
It doesn't look that way. It looks like things are going to be pretty dry out there. You might need the sunglasses. We have some nice peaks of sunshine coming through the clouds, and so it is also very hot and humid out there. You want to make sure you stay hydrated. I know folks have been outside all day long, so make sure to stay hydrated. The rest of your 7-day planning forecast, I know it's still Labor Day weekend, but it is going to be hot.
All right. Well, we may be done with news, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment with Countdown to Kickoff all the way up to the big game. Stay tuned, and thanks for joining us.
rivalry restored. Notre Dame and Michigan reunited after a 4-year break.
But the sounds of discord have not quieted during that hiatus. Chicken ditties. And blowout serenades still echo fresh in our ears.
Tonight, those recent slights and a whole lot more history are the background as two of the game's great behemoths collide.
The eyes of the nation squarely on South Bend. A season opener full of anticipation.
Who knows what we're going to get? I guess we'll all see at 7:30 on Saturday night.
We're here to get you ready until then.
Live under the lights of Notre Dame Stadium, this is News Center 16's Countdown to Kickoff.
The night we've all waited for since we last saw the Irish 9 months ago to the day is finally here. Football is back on the Notre Dame campus as tens of thousands of faithful in blue, gold, and a whole lot of green cheerfully welcome another season on this hallowed ground.
And now you are looking live from high above at some of the revelry before the rivalry. And now we bring you inside Notre Dame Stadium. Rock's House opens its 89th campaign with a classic matchup. It's number 14 Michigan and number 12 Notre Dame.
Good evening and welcome to News Center 16's Countdown to Kickoff. I'm Alex Wilcox.
And I'm WHME Sports Director Chuck Freeby. The return of Notre Dame and Michigan to each other's schedules is where we begin the countdown. A rivalry restored tonight with so much on the line for a season opener. The storylines really colliding as you have two coaches who are trying to take their team to the next level. Both of these squads went 9-3 a year ago. Jim Harbaugh finds himself a little bit more on the hot seat this year because he's had problems beating ranked teams. But Brian Kelly's team also has to meet some high expectations this year in South Bend.
These are two schools where the expectations every year just couldn't be higher. The two winningest programs in college football history. And yeah, it's a huge rivalry. This was a game that wasn't supposed to happen for a number of years since 2014. Now it's back, and in a huge way, a lot of excitement for all of us, excitement for the players as well. The effort to get these two teams back on the field together actually started with a call between those two coaches.
Jim reached out to me, and you know, we were both of the same opinion that we wanted to try to get this game back if we could. Now, there are so many other things, as you know, that make this difficult. I know we play next year, but after that, who knows how this might work again, given both of our limitations relative to scheduling.
The Big Ten continuing to expand, and of course Notre Dame wanting to make its schedule a national schedule in reach. Not likely that it will be an every year occurrence, but you never know. No matter how tough it is to make it happen, this is a contest a lot of people who love college football expect to see each year. And that is the topic of today's Lock Money Auto Group Irish fan poll at WNDU.com.
Should Notre Dame and Michigan play each other every season? Right now, 76% of you say yes, and only 24% say no. Now, you still have time to make your voice heard. Just head to WNDU.com to vote in the Lock Monday Auto Group fan poll, and we'll bring you the final results in about 40 minutes on the countdown.
It is a steamy night here in Notre Dame Stadium, so should we be ready for some rain or some storms, perhaps?
Oh, I hope not, but let's check in with Courtney Jurgensen in the Storm Team 16 Weather Lab for the answer. Courtney?
Hey guys, you know, outside right now things are looking pretty decent out there. In fact, we just have some clouds. There is some sunshine. It is still hot and humid out there too. Take a look right now at your satellite radar combo. There is a chance for a spotty shower, but I think for the most part we won't see anything significant. You can see just starting to pop up. So your hour by hour forecast as we head outside, temperatures are still going to stay fairly warm as we head through the evening hours. And I think for the most part we stay dry. Maybe we see an isolated shower, but otherwise I think we are going to stay fairly dry. It is still going to be hot out there though. Back to you guys.
All right, Courtney, thank you very much. Another storyline we'll keep a close eye on this evening, the Irish quarterback situation. Brian Kelly has made it very clear that Brandon Wimbush is his starting quarterback this year. He has also made it very clear that there may be situations where we see Ian Book. And what we're cloudy on is whether one of those situations might occur tonight. And if Ian Book comes into this game, what does that mean for the future of the position?
Exactly. And when you think about it, Coach Kelly in the beginning of camp this year said that he only wants to play one quarterback tonight and that quarterback was going to be Brandon Wimbush. As camp has evolved, though, he's changed his tune a little bit. Now he's saying that depending on the situation, you may see Ian Book. So I think that's an interesting development from training camp. Maybe Brandon Wimbush didn't exactly take the steps that Coach Kelly was hoping for. Maybe Ian Book has shown more than Coach Kelly was expecting. But either way, I think we definitely could see both Brandon Wimbush and Ian Book out on the field sometime tonight.
Where there is more certainty, and when was the last time we said that about the Irish defense, is the fact that the Irish defense is supposed to be pretty good this year. In fact, they've lost their defensive coordinator in Mike Elko. They have a new one in Clark Lee, but that's just about the only loss from this defense. They are very deep along the defensive line. They've got Tavon Coney and Drew Tranquil at linebacker. Cornerbacks are very solid. You got All-American returning Julian Love.
Yep.
I think the only question's really at the back end with the rover and the safeties.
Yeah, that's right, especially the safety position. The safety group really struggled last year, but a huge piece was on the sideline for the entirety of last year in transfer safety Alohi Gilman. Coaches have raved about him all training camp. They think he's going to be a real difference maker this time around. All the players rave about him. They say not only is he a good player, but he also brings a lot of leadership to the back end of the Irish defense. So I think especially that safety play is going to be a lot better this time around.
So year 9 of the Brian Kelly era begins tonight. That's the longest tenure for a Notre Dame football coach who has not yet to win a national championship.
I sat down with Kelly for a wide-ranging season-opening interview, and we start with if this year's team has title timber.
All right, Coach, we know the mission here at Notre Dame, graduate all your players, win a national championship. What makes you feel that this is a national championship team this season?
Well, we're always on that journey, you know. So I think when you have it as your mission, each year you embark on that same journey. And I think what I love about this team is that they've embraced that journey. It's hard. It's hard to do this, especially when we know college football and its landscape of great football teams. But the will, the desire, the effort, and I think the talent is here for us to accomplish that goal.
I got to say, I've just from being around you a little bit during training camp, you seem more confident than I've seen you in recent years. Is there a reason that you're feeling so good this time around?
Well, you know, I think first of all, if you were around me last year, we had 2 quarterbacks that hadn't taken a snap. That's a little uneasy going into an opener. We have 2 quarterbacks now that combined have won 10 football games for us and beat some quality opposition. So you feel a little bit more relaxed. I don't know that I ever get relaxed. I get more confident, as you mentioned, that our football team can go out and execute at a high level.
How different is the feeling now coming off a 10-win season versus last year when you're coming off a losing season?
Well, that probably goes to your last question in terms of knowing that we can be successful if we just apply the traits necessary. If there's an attention to detail, if our guys have the right attitude, which they do, if they're gritty. You know, we're going to have to fight through some games here. You know, it's going to be a tough schedule. Yeah. And we're going to have to fight through some tough opponents on the road, at home. We open with Michigan. That's going to be a great opponent, and we're going to have to show some grit there.
Of course, last year, November was the problem for you guys. You were riding high going into it. The Miami debacle, another loss against Stanford. What makes you think that this year's team has what it takes to win come November?
I don't. I mean, but that's the great thing about this. You go back to work on it every year. You learn from the year before, and you plan accordingly. You take into account past experiences, and you hope to build off of them. So we know that November has been important. We knew that in January. So we trained accordingly to make sure that the month of November was better for us in terms of our health. We've got some things that are working for us in that regard in terms of We've got some freshmen that could be available for us with the new 4-game allowance for freshmen. And we really are second year in our weight training program where our kids are bigger and faster and stronger. And so we've done a lot of things, but there's no guarantees. You still have to go out and play and execute.
Much more of my conversation with Brian Kelly, including some insight on his offensive line, coming up a little after 7:15. Right now, though, we're just getting started on the countdown. Up next, a match made by the Notre Dame-Michigan matchup. See how this game 30 years ago brought a couple with deep ties to both teams together.
And here's your first Subway trivia question of the night. Notre Dame, Michigan 1988 will always be remembered for Reggie Ho's heroics. But who scored the lone Irish touchdown in that thrilling win 30 years ago? The answer when the countdown rolls back in 2 minutes.
Here is your Subway trivia answer.
30 years ago this month, we saw an absolute classic between these two teams here under the lights in Notre Dame Stadium. Reggie Ho etched his name in Irish lore that day with 4 field goals. But it was Ricky Waters who got the scoring started on a punt return, the only Irish touchdown of the day, on their way to a season-opening 1917 win. Very memorable night for those of us lucky enough to be there as the Irish began their run to the national title in 1988.
And that evening is extra special for one local couple. Let's bring in the countdown's Lindsay Stone. And Lindsay, it ended up being one of the most important days in their lives.
Yeah, Alex, that is exactly right. Many remember the 1988 Notre Dame-Michigan game by the field goals made by the Irish and the almost field goal made by the Wolverines. But for one couple I met, it was the start of something far greater than a Notre Dame win.
A rivalry since the beginning. 2 teams. 2 rivals with so much history and tradition. The enemies go head-to-head once again. Just like the fans.
Am I a diehard? Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Ted and Peg Hartman are no stranger to the Notre Dame-Michigan rivalry. Ted was born at the University of Michigan's hospital, and his family loyalty to Michigan runs deep, just like Peg's.
My maternal grandfather played football at the University of Notre Dame in 1906.
But the rivalry is a little more fierce in their household. It's the beginning of their love story when the two met 30 years ago at the Notre Dame Michigan game.
I had a mutual friend call me to check on status of tickets for the Notre Dame Michigan game. He had a friend who wanted to go, and the friend happened to be Ted.
13 months later, they were married in the crypt at the Basilica.
We had Michigan shirts underneath the tuxes, and we had block M lapel pins.
In order of importance, Michigan football, our kids, and then I think me.
All right, well, welcome to the Michigan room.
Ted's such a diehard, he's got a whole room dedicated to the maize and blue.
We have here the collection of some of the ticket stubs. This is all of the games that Peg and I have attended, including here I have the ticket stub from the game we met at. Certainly more passionate than Peg. She's a lot more forgiving when it comes to football.
I tend to go neutral on Notre Dame Michigan games. Easier to survive the day.
This being the 30th year, it's going to be...
It'll be special.
Ted and Peg have attended over 50 college football games, including every single Notre Dame Michigan game since they met nearly 30 years ago to the day. And get this, they both have Notre Dame and Michigan season tickets, so the rivalry continues for these two.
Wow, awesome story. And Lindsay, this is a big week for you and News Center 16. You're covering your first Irish game tonight. Then you've got another first coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah, Alex and Chuck, we are so excited. We are going to be launching 16 News Now at 4 this Tuesday. Maureen McFadden and I will bring you headlines from around Michiana and across the globe. And Mike Hoffman will have your Storm Team 16 forecast an hour earlier to help you make your evening plans. And we cannot wait to get started, and I hope you join us beginning Tuesday.
Well, Lindsay, we're all counting on you, so don't mess it up. Lindsay Stone reporting outside the stadium.
Well, we're just about a quarter of the way into the countdown with so much left to bring you.
Up next, our Irish Illustrated report. Tim O'Malley joins us to look and see if the Irish have shored up a big weakness from last year, their safeties. Plus, just how good are Michigan's receivers?
And you can subscribe to Irish Illustrated, the #1 source for Notre Dame sports online. Just head to irishillustrated.com and click on Join to find the best plan for you.
Back on the countdown with our Irish Illustrated report. Tim O'Malley joins us. Good evening. We start with the Irish safeties. A year ago, you had as many interceptions as they did. How much have they shored up that weakness?
You know, I think they threw some numbers at it, but they also threw a little bit more talent at it. You have Alohi Gilman from Navy, the transfer in, who Brian Kelly was pretty frank would have started last year in that situation, and I really think that Nick Coleman, it's going to be hard for Notre Dame fans to believe this until they see it, because he really hasn't had a great career here. But boy, he looked good in camp, and it seems like Brian Kelly keeps throwing out names, 7 names at a time. Look, his backups are former starters, and now he has a couple guys he can trust. So they will have an interception this year, but that's really not what you're looking for. I think a solid season from the safeties is not too much to ask.
Now, they could be tested early in this one tonight. Of course, though, Michigan lost their star wide receiver, Tariq Black, a couple weeks ago to an injury. But even still, how good are these Michigan receivers?
Well, Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think, is a #1 receiver in his own right, but I really think that they're going to make it up from just using the tight ends more. They have a couple of mismatches. In Zach Gentry, he's probably closer to 6'8" than he is listed 6'6". And then you have Sean McKeon. He was a rookie of the year, or the rookie of the year last year for the squad. And, you know, when you use in the modern offense, you have 2 tight ends out there, a couple backs. I think they can get by. Now, Tariq Black was a weapon, and obviously that definitely aids Notre Dame, and it would have made Donovan Peoples-Jones an even tougher cover.
Absolutely.
I wanted to talk about recruiting, but we're a little short on time, and I know the subscribers may have already seen this, but for those who haven't seen it already, give us a game prediction and a season prediction.
You know, the game prediction is I have not wavered yet from the low-scoring game. I can't see anything but a low-scoring game in this. It wasn't a direct homage to 1988, but I'm in the 1917 range.
Oh,
I do think there will be more field goals than touchdowns scored in this game, and you know, if Notre Dame does win this game as predicted, I can see them doing better than what I'm about to say of 9-3, but with the road games, the 4 true road games, I really see Notre Dame dropping 2 on the road again, and I'm not sure they make it through the home slate unscathed, so I'm on the 9-3 range.
Well, that's typically my prediction. We'll see if that's the case at the end of the night. You can subscribe to Irish Illustrated. It is the #1 source for Notre Dame sports online. All you got to do is head to irishillustrated.com, click on join, and you'll find the best plan for you.
Up next, we take a deeper dive on what to expect from Michigan.
A lot of this game hinges on their new QB, Shea Patterson. A closer look at the transfer that has hopes high in Ann Arbor when the countdown returns in 2 minutes.
Back with some Michigan storylines to watch tonight. We start with just how long it's been since the Wolverines beat a ranked team on the road. And, well, it's been a while, including a couple of losses here in South Bend. You're taking a look at the memorable 2014 game. That was the last time these two squads played. 31-0, an Irish shutout. But Chuck, Michigan has struggled on the road, not just in South Bend.
Fact of the matter is they haven't beaten a ranked team on the road in 12 years. It's one of the sticking points for the critics of Jim Harbaugh. He has blown games at both East Lansing and Columbus, and it is a huge concern for the folks in Michigan. What is a big hope for the folks in Michigan is their new quarterback. He's a fellow by the name of Shea Patterson. He's a transfer from Ole Miss, and he gives Michigan something that they haven't had in a couple of years, and that is a mobile quarterback and a dual threat, somebody who can throw it and who can run it. Last year, Michigan only got 9 touchdowns out of the quarterback position. That's inexcusable.
Yeah, and when you think about the offense Michigan runs, especially under Jim Harbaugh lately, you see a lot of 2 tight end sets, even a fullback in there. It'll be interesting to see just exactly how Jim Harbaugh utilizes Shea Patterson with his mobility, with his arm strength. That'll definitely be something to watch for. Now, Patterson's coach and the quarterback himself tell us how his transition to the maize and blue has gone so far.
His level of focus and intensity during practice and execution has been really good. Really been intense and focused each day of practice.
I'm an ultimate competitor. I expect the most out of myself, and I'm my biggest critic. But we got a hell of a group of quarterback room. We got a lot of good guys, and we learn and feed off each other every single day. So I'm just looking forward to doing my part.
Patterson is one of a number of top 50 players on this Michigan team that has NFL scouts drooling. In fact, ESPN rates Michigan's roster having 4 of the top 50. Patterson, along with on defense, the bookend defensive ends of Rashawn Gary and Chase Winovich, and the All-American linebacker Devin Bush. Not a shabby roster.
No, especially when you look at that defense, as you mentioned, 3 top 50 players, bookend defensive ends. So you think about, you really can't avoid those pass rushers. Both of them are really good. The Irish are going to have their hands full keeping Brandon Wimbush upright tonight.
We are just about halfway home on the season opening edition of the Countdown.
We just talked about the new Michigan QB, but how about Notre Dame's season starter? Why Brandon Wimbush is feeling more comfortable heading into season number 2 when the Countdown comes back in 2 minutes.
Hey guys, back to you. Okay, cool.
Jim Harbaugh and his Michigan Wolverines have made the familiar trip across the state line, returning to Notre Dame Stadium. The maize and blue back in the Bend for the first time in 4 years, with plans to head back to Ann Arbor with a signature season-opening win.
Of course, Brian Kelly and his crew have a very different plan The Fighting Irish have big goals and dreams of their own as we start 2018, and they know it will all be derailed if they don't take care of Michigan to start the year tonight. Back inside the countdown with WHME Sports Director Chuck Freeby, I'm Alex Wilcox.
In just a little more than 30 minutes, Brandon Wimbush gets his second season rolling as the Irish starting QB.
Let's bring in the countdown's Mark Skoll Jr. And Mark, those 2 straight season opening starts put him in some rare recent company.
Yeah, Alex, believe it or not, Brandon Wimbush is the first Irish quarterback to start in back-to-back season openers since Dane Chris did so in 2010 and 2011. So what is his mindset tonight as he enters year 2? Brandon Wimbush knows if the Irish are going to be successful in 2018, it'll fall on him.
All these guys want to be great, and it starts with the quarterback.
And the pressure as the starting quarterback at a school like Notre Dame isn't like anywhere else.
There's not a bigger position in the country, so you feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, right? And you have to go perform to other people's expectations. But I think I set the bar for myself, the highest that anyone's going to set it.
Not too many people know how high the bar is set for the Irish QB1. Thankfully for Wimbush, his quarterback's coach is Tom Rees, who, of course, not too long ago was the Irish quarterback himself and knows a thing or two about suiting up in blue and gold.
I understand that the quarterback position, there's no ups and downs. You got to be steady, and you got to have, a good demeanor about yourself.
Rees says if Wimbush plays consistently in 2018, everything will come much easier for him in this second year leading the offense.
Year 1, you're kind of looking at it from a wider, angle. As you become year 2, year 3 in a system, now you can focus in on some of the smaller details that, maybe weren't, hitting in the first year.
And Wimbush is already feeling more comfortable in year 2.
Just having a year under my belt, with the same guys that I'm running this offense with now is huge, and we're on the same page with a lot of things, and I think you guys will see that.
One thing Brian Kelly doesn't want to see from Wimbush this season is a fear of failure.
At times he got himself in a place where he didn't want to fail. The quarterback position can't be that. You have to be a guy that is out there making plays.
Wimbush says the best way to make plays is just to play relaxed.
I was playing ball, man. I think that's the biggest part is you get so comfortable, then you just start playing ball, and it's like you're back in middle school throwing again.
Wimbush has tried his best to minimize the pressures of being the starting quarterback for Notre Dame. He even went 0 dark 30 on social media. He thinks that will keep him more focused on the upcoming 2018 season. Guys, I'll see you in a bit. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. We are honored to have the 1988 National Championship team in the house tonight. And this is Pat Eilers, who many of you may remember was a member of that squad. But Pat was a unique member of that squad because you transferred into Notre Dame from Yale. What was it like to assimilate into that squad that year?
Well, we have our, as you mentioned, the national championship reunion, and having Coach Holtz in town talked about the composition of that team. You had guys transferring in from the East Coast. We had a lot of guys that came from Coach Faust's era, and Coach Holtz added a lot of his players. But what it came down to is Coach Holtz, often says trust, love, and commitment. And we weren't the best talented football team, but we were the best college football team.
You guys definitely did have a lot of talent, though. And you started off that campaign, much like this season, with a big win over Michigan, a Saturday night game. What do you remember from that game?
The Saturday night game, well, this is when Reggie Ho, who is now a cardiologist in Philadelphia, came in and had, just scored field goal after field goal after field goal. And that was a guy who was a walk-on, practice in the parking lot, and we beat Michigan. And there's no better way to start a season than playing the University of Michigan in South Bend.
And what kind of memories do you have when you get together with this group as you have this weekend?
We just have a lot of memories of, Coach Holtz was a phenomenal coach. Definitely always wanted to coach at the University of Notre Dame, but you had to earn it. So the first couple years you were afraid to go to practice, and if you survived and you proved that he couldn't keep you down, then you got a starting job and you could represent Mary on the Dome, as he would often say. So we were always playing something larger than just ourselves or just our team. We were playing for the Mother Mary of God.
I don't know how he still looks like he could play, and I've turned ashen white, but it's great to see you again. We've got a lot more to share with you on the countdown. Up next, I look at a group a lot of Irish fans have high hopes for this year, the Notre Dame defense, and some of that unit's stars tell us what to expect from them.
And here's another Subway trivia question. The Irish and Wolverines met in the first ever night game at Notre Dame Stadium. When was that contest, and what was the result? The answer when the countdown returns in 2 minutes.
Here is your Subway trivia answer.
The Irish and Wolverines met in the first ever night game here in the stadium a few weeks short of 36 years ago, September 18th, 1982. And it was a good one. Michigan battled back from a few big Notre Dame leads, but they didn't have enough to make the comeback complete. The late, great Dave Duerson sealed the deal with a late interception, and the Irish won it 23-17.
It was a great moment supplied by the Irish defense that night, and they will need to supply some more this season.
No question. Anytime Notre Dame has had a championship contender, it has had a defense like Perry Mason, one that never rests. When you try and describe the Notre Dame defense, it's really very simple.
Our mentality is to go in and punish our opponent, and that's our identity. Humble workers, tough, competitive, and first class all the way.
Notre Dame has a new defensive coordinator in Clark Lee, and the 36-year-old is not exactly a philosopher.
I want to have calls that the guys are confident executing and really that allows them to shine. That's my responsibility, is can I put them in position to not be thinking but be doing.
It starts up front, where to a man, the Irish agree they have a solid line with depth.
Our D-line, I think, probably took the biggest step of this offseason, and that is crucial on third down. I mean, there's nothing better than third down sack.
There is also experience at linebacker, with Drew Tranquil joining last year's leading tackler, Tavon Coney.
Just veteran group overall. You know, we got a lot of playmakers, the guys who has experience that can go out there and make plays.
Julian Love emerged as one of those last year, surging to All-America status. The Irish are firm on the corners, but what about the back end? Notre Dame had 0 interceptions from its safeties last season, but personnel changes may have remedied the problem.
Alohi Gilman, you know, he's going to be a great addition to our defense. His physicality, his ability to cover, his football intelligence, his ability to communicate is going to be an excellent addition to our team.
So the Irish have talent and depth, Will that be enough tonight to solve the puzzle that is Shea Patterson in the Michigan offense? Again, they're keeping it simple.
How do you rattle a guy like Shea Patterson?
Oh, you hit him.
Simple as it gets. The Wolverines gave up 36 sacks last season. They went out and brought in former Irish assistant Ed Warner from Ohio State to be the new O-line coach. Keep your eyes on Michigan left tackle John Runyon tonight. He needs to have a big game.
When Brian Kelly took Notre Dame to the title game back in 2012, they relied on the defense. We'll see if that's the case this season as well.
Well, there's still plenty to talk about coming up on the countdown.
Up next is Sports Beat. Darren Pritchett joins the conversation. We'll look at the two head coaches, Brian Kelly and Jim Harbaugh, and talk about what tonight means to each of them, coming up in 2 minutes on the countdown.
We are back with Sports Beat on the Countdown with the host of weekday Sports Beat on WSBT Radio, Darren Pritchett. Good evening. Let's start with the coaches. Brian Kelly, your ode to Jim Harbaugh as we all wear khakis tonight. What does tonight mean to each of them?
You know, for Brian Kelly, a chance for this team to get off to a really good start. 2 winnable games the next 2 weeks. So a chance to get off to a good start. And guys, the back end of this schedule concerns me with all the travel. So you feel like going into November, they cannot afford to have more than one loss. So with the games coming up, you'd really like to win this one. For Jim Harbaugh, I think it's all about the Big Ten improving their status in the division, trying to get into a better bowl game, and trying to be competitive against Ohio State. But yeah, beating a rival like Notre Dame would help Harbaugh's cause.
Absolutely, especially when they've lost a bunch to Ohio State, Michigan State. Definitely a win would mean a lot for Harbaugh. Now, getting back to Notre Dame, which of the guys on the roster do you think has the chance to be a breakout player this year that we're not talking about now, but we definitely will be?
Gosh, I hate to say Jafar Armstrong because we've talked about him a lot in the fall, but he brings some interesting characteristics to the running back position. There are carries to be had right now. Tony Jones Jr. is one of the guys they're going to count on. I think Jafar has a big role in tonight's ball game. Defensively, Khalid Kareem, defensive end, he might be ready to have a breakout moment in tonight's game against Michigan. The defensive line has a lot of depth, but do they have that alpha guy? Maybe Kareem can be one of those guys.
I think he could be. Let's take a look at tonight's game. Score and your season record prediction.
Oh, gosh.
I know you love these.
I thought these were going to be fluff questions, Chuck. Come
Why
on.
start now?
I ask you fluff questions all the time. I took Notre Dame 20-17. How good the Michigan offensive line is tonight might alter my choice. I think they're going to struggle at times, so I'm going to take Notre Dame 20-17, and I'm going to go 10-2 for the Irish.
All right,
I've been at 9-3, and now you put pressure on me. I'm going to go 10-2.
Becoming a house man. That's Darren Pritchett from WSBT Radio. We're back with more Countdown to Kickoff after this. Here are the final results of this week's Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com.
We asked you, should Notre Dame and Michigan play each other every season? Most of you want to see the game every year. 76% say yes, while just 24% of you say no. Thanks for voting in the Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com.
So what Irish players should you be watching closely this evening, and for that matter all season long?
Brian Kelly gives us some insight as I continue my one-on-one conversation with him, but we begin with how his team is handling the loss of two superstars to the NFL.
On the offensive line, lost Mike McGlinchey, lost Quentin Nelson, two top 10 draft picks.
They're gone? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they are.
Dang it.
Hate to break that to you.
Now maybe I'll be a little bit more nervous.
Of course, Harry Heastan as well with the Bears now. Will there be a drop-off there along the offensive line? They were the best in the country last year. You have the giant Joe Moore Award to prove it. How do you avoid that drop-off?
Well, I think every year you come into the season expecting to be successful in running the football. The measure of that will be over 12 games. We're playing a really good defense in the first week. If we rush for 350 yards, I'll tell you we're going to be better. I know our guys aren't giving up that award. They want to win it again to be the most outstanding offensive line. So we are capable of doing that. You're losing two very good players, outstanding players, but our guys are up for the challenge.
All right, want to do a little rapid fire segment, just a couple thoughts about some of these players. We'll start along the offensive line with the guy replacing Mike McGlinchey, Liam Eichenberg.
Physical, anxious about his first opportunity.
Jafar Armstrong.
Athletically gives us a multi-dimensional threat in our offense.
Avery Davis.
I call him a bright lights player. When the lights turn on, he's a guy that really turns up his play.
Dexter Williams.
He is a big play player for us that will get an opportunity this year to show himself.
Alize Mack.
Emerging. I think he's really taken hold of the things off the field that will make him a great player on the field.
Chase Claypool.
Maturing to the point where he can be an impact player.
We'll go to the defensive side of the ball. Dalen Hayes.
I think he is another ascending defensive player that will make an impact this year.
Tavon Coney.
Probably the most improved in leadership fashion, which is needed at that middle linebacker position.
Drew Tranquil.
Mr. Do Everything.
Is there someone on your roster that we, the media, aren't talking about right now, that by the end of the season we won't be able to stop talking about?
You know, I think you're probably going to talk a little bit more about, as a player, Alohi Gilman, and I think you're going to probably talk a little bit more about Jeff Quinn as the offensive line coach.
So Pritchett says Jafar Armstrong. Coach Kelly's thinking it's going to be Alohi Gilman as the guy to watch.
I'll take either one. I hope we don't talk much about the coaches, because usually when we do, it's not good.
Right.
Up next, it's our Irish keys to the game, the X Factors and predictions. Our 4 Wins Casino, what to watch for in 2 minutes on the countdown.
What's up, Tom? How you doing today? I'm doing good.
Back on the countdown, Mark comes to the big people's table for our 4 Wins Casino what to watch for. We start with our Irish keys to the game, Mr. Wilcox.
I'm going to keep it simple here. No turnovers. If the Irish want to win the game, they can't turn the ball over. I think it's going to be a physical, low-scoring, close game, and in these close games that often come down to 1 or 2 possessions, especially with a really tough Michigan defense, you can't turn the ball over, and that'll go a long way towards keeping Brandon Wimbush's confidence up.
And my key to the game is actually protecting Brandon Wimbush. You can't let him get flustered early on, because if he gets flustered, it's going to affect the rest of the game, and that is a good Michigan defense. So my key to the game is protect Brandon Wimbush.
88 team is behind us. I'll use an old Lou Holtzism. Most rushing yards wins. Okay, now the X Factors. Who'd you go with?
I'm going to go with the quarterback, Brandon Wimbush. He's, as Mark told us, he's the returning starter for the first time in a while, but he's still a little bit of an unknown. Will he last the whole game? If he does, I think the Irish can pull this out.
And for me, I got to go with offensive coordinator Chip Long. The offense, they lost so much. You lose 2 top 10 draft picks on the offensive line, not to mention Josh Adams, a 1,400-yard back, and it's going to be tough. So Chip Long, he's my key to the X Factor.
Liam Eichenberg makes his first start tonight, and he has to line up against an angry, mean fella by the name of Rashawn Gary, who may be an NFL first-round draft pick. He'd better do his job well. Prediction time, quickly with scores tonight.
All right, I'm going 19-17 Notre Dame. That was the score in 1988 when
You weren't
Notre Dame
around,
beat
you. How
Michigan.
would you know?
I'll go 24-21. Justin Yoon, field goal wins it.
Notre Dame wins this one 21-20. Something dramatic at the end of the game will happen. Irish record at the end of the year?
I'm going 9-3. I think they drop a couple of those end of the season tough games in November.
I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I got them going 10-2 with a chance at the playoff.
I normally, as you know, watching the show, go 9-3 because that's the Brian Kelly trend, but I think this team's a little bit better. I'll go with 10-2. Up next, we'll show you some of the pregame ceremonies here in the stadium as the countdown comes back in 90 seconds. And now the Notre Dame band gets ready to honor America here at Notre Dame Stadium with our national anthem. It'll be followed by a flyover from 4 U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagles from the Lancers of the 33rd Fighter Squadron. After that, Mike Tirico and Doug Flutie have the call. An amazing and stunning sight as those 4 fighter jets, the F-15Es, fly over Notre Dame Stadium. A tremendous atmosphere on this Saturday night in South Bend as Notre Dame and Michigan get ready to rumble. Any final thoughts?
College football is back in South Bend. It is a great time to be here.
Take a look at all that green. That's incredible. It's going to be a great environment tonight. It's going to be a close game. Should be a good one.
As we told you, Mike Tirico and Doug Flutie have the call. Thanks for joining us for the season premiere of Countdown to Kickoff. And don't forget, Alex and I will be joined by Tim Priester for post-game coverage right here on WNDU.